You are weaker than your ancestors. Not slightly weaker, dramatically, measurably, structurally weaker. The bones in your body are thinner than the bones of humans who lived 10,000 years ago. Your muscles generate less force. Your grip strength would have been considered unremarkable by a prehistoric woman doing ordinary daily work. And the strangest part is not that this happened. The strangest part is that it happened on purpose. Your body made a trade. And once you understand what it traded away and what it got in return, you will never think about human potential the same way again. Start with the bones. When bioarchaeologists dig up skeletons from the Paleolithic era, the period before agriculture, roughly 12,000 years ago, they consistently find something that stops them. The cortical bone, the dense outer layer that makes a bone strong and rigid, is dramatically thicker than in modern humans. Researcher Habiba Chirchir, working at the Smithsonian Institution, led a study comparing the trabecular bone density of ancient humans against modern populations. What she found was that the internal spongy architecture of ancient human bones was significantly denser and more reinforced, resembling the bone structure of modern non-human primates and elite athletes far more than it resembled the average person alive today. The ancient human skeleton was built for a different kind of life entirely. This was not genetics. That is the critical point. The DNA difference between you and a human from 50,000 years ago is negligible. You are not a different creature. You are the same creature living a completely different physical life. And your body responds to physical life with extraordinary precision. Bone does not stay the same. It remodels constantly, adding density where stress is applied and removing it where stress is absent. Your ancestors walked on uneven terrain for hours every day, climbed, carried, threw, dug, and built with their hands from childhood onward. Their skeletons responded by becoming structural masterpieces. Yours responded to chairs, cars, and keyboards. The muscles tell the same story, but louder. In 2017, researchers studying the remains of ancient agricultural farmers, a population already considered physically diminished compared to earlier hunter-gatherers, found that even these early farmers had leg bone strength comparable to modern cross-country runners. Not casual runners, competitive athletes who trained deliberately, systematically, for years. The ancient farmers were achieving that level of skeletal loading simply by living their ordinary lives, walking to fields, carrying water, grinding grain by hand. The physical demands of daily existence were producing elite athletic adaptations in the general population without anyone trying. Go further back to the true hunter-gatherers, and the numbers become harder to believe. Anthropologist Christopher Ruff at Johns Hopkins University has spent decades analyzing the mechanical properties of prehistoric human limb bones. His research consistently shows that upper body strength in Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens was extraordinary. The asymmetry in Neanderthal arm bones, the difference in thickness between the dominant and non-dominant arm, is greater than that seen in modern professional tennis players. These were people throwing spears, hauling carcasses, scraping hides, and climbing with their arms every day of their lives, from childhood. The physical loading was continuous, unavoidable, and lifelong. Now consider your hands. Grip strength in humans has declined measurably over the past century alone, even in the most recent historical window we can measure. A 2016 study, published in the Journal of Hand Surgery, found that the grip strength of American college-aged men had fallen significantly compared to measurements from 1985. Not compared to ancient humans, compared to their own grandfathers. The decline is happening faster than most people realize, and it is happening because the physical demands that once built that strength have been systematically removed from daily life. But here is where this story turns, because the loss of physical strength is not the whole picture. Something else was happening at the same time, something the bones and muscles do not show. As the human body was gradually offloading physical work onto tools, technology, and eventually other people, the human brain was taking on more. Energy is the constraint that governs everything in biology. The brain is the most expensive organ in the body, consuming roughly 20% of your total energy budget while comprising only 2% of your body weight. A body that is maintaining massive muscle and bone density has less energy available for the brain. A body that has reduced its physical plant frees up that energy for cognitive work. This is not a comfortable idea, but the evidence points toward it. The transition away from the extreme physical robusticity of early humans correlates with the expansion of behavioral complexity, symbolic thought, long-distance trade, art, and language. These are not coincidences arranged in a timeline. They are a system. The body was being gradually reorganized, trading raw physical capacity for cognitive and social capacity. And the archaeological record shows this reorganization happening over tens of thousands of years in a direction that looks, in retrospect, unmistakably intentional. Daniel Lieberman, a paleoanthropologist and evolutionary biologist at Harvard University, has written extensively about what he calls the mismatch between the bodies we have and the environments we now live in. His argument is precise. The human body was not designed for the sedentary life. It was designed for a physically active life, and it still runs on that operating system. When you remove chronic physical loading from that system, the body does not simply relax into comfort, it begins to malfunction. Bone density drops, muscle mass falls, metabolic regulation deteriorates, cardiovascular efficiency declines. The diseases that dominate modern life, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, many forms of depression, are in significant part diseases of physical inactivity. They are the body's response to being denied the inputs it was built to expect. Your ancestors were not stronger because they were better. They were stronger because their environment demanded it every single day without exception. The body you have is the same body. It responds to the same stimuli. The question is whether you are giving it those stimuli. This is where the story becomes personal, because the research does not end with a verdict of irreversible decline. It ends with something more surprising. Exercise science in the past 2 decades has repeatedly demonstrated that the human body retains a remarkable capacity for physical adaptation even in modern adults. Bone density can be rebuilt through resistance training and impact loading. Muscle strength responds rapidly to progressive challenge. Grip strength, cardiovascular efficiency, metabolic function, all of these respond to the correct stimuli at almost any age. The body has not forgotten what it was built to do. It is simply waiting for the signal. What separated ancient humans physically was not a secret supplement, not a superior genome, and not a willingness to suffer. It was volume. The sheer, relentless, daily volume of physical work embedded in every hour of their existence. They did not exercise. They had no concept of exercise. Physical effort was simply the inescapable texture of being alive, and their bodies reflected that completely. You are sitting in a chair right now, or lying down, or holding a device that weighs almost nothing. Your ancestors were carrying their body weight in food and supplies across 10 miles of uneven terrain before the sun reached its peak. The distance between those two lives is not genetic. It is not fate. It is a set of daily decisions, accumulated across years, that either give your body the signal it was built to receive or withhold it entirely. You are weaker than your ancestors, but you are made of the exact same material they were. The bone responds. The muscle responds. The body, given the right demand, still knows exactly what to do with it. The question was never whether your body was capable. The question was whether you were going to ask it.